Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Black Hills Information Security webcast. My name is Jason Blanchard. I am the Content Community Director here at Black Hills Information Security. If you ever need our services like a red team, pen test, active SOC, or anything like that, you know where to find us. But the reason we're here today is because Bronwen's going to share her knowledge. She has been researching and looking to AI more than any other human being I know at this time. She finds so much joy in it, and I love how much joy she has in it, and that joy comes through in the way that she gets to express it and talk about it and teach it, and so hopefully you get a chance to do that today. If you are new to the Black Hills Information Security community, thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time, welcome. If this is your 100th time, welcome back. We appreciate you being here. We love sharing our knowledge. We believe that knowledge can help solve almost all the world's problems. And so Bronwen's going to introduce some new problems today that none of us even thought about. And so we're going to think through what are solutions to those problems. But if you have questions at any time, feel free to ask them inside Zoom. You can also ask them in Discord, and most likely the community will address it. If you're watching the recording of this, hello from the past. And thank you so much for being here. All right, Bronwen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, one last thing. Bronwen is on satellite, which means every once in a while that satellite moves and her internet goes away. If Bronwen ever freezes or stops talking or anything like that, she did not get lost. She's not gone. What I need your help doing is just letting the rest of the community know that she's coming right back. If she's gone for too long, then I'll pop in and be like, doo 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 doo, until she comes back. And with that, I'm heading backstage. Thanks, Bronwen.
Always a pleasure, Jason. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to discuss some lessons learned in exploring Copilot and specifically how you can secure Copilot in your enterprise. Yeah, help if I could talk. Some of the things we're going to explore today. First, there was the original question. Could Copilot be used as an insider threat? Going to be telling stories about discovery and exploration I've been doing of Copilot for the past several months. Also, what do the licensing options for Copilot do, and how does that impact how effective it is as an insider threat? How can Copilot be implemented, and what can you do to secure it? Now, why should you care about what I say? Well, hi, I'm Bronwen, also known as Corvus or the Cybrarian. I've been doing IT tech development stuff for a while, and I also used to make my living as a technical trainer. But then in 2017, I made a decision to um, change career paths and go into cybersecurity. Had no idea what I was getting into. And a little bit later, John Strand, this weird guy that I knew through the Sands Institute, anyway, he asked me to come work for him, and I've basically been with BHIS ever since. My latest tech obsession is artificial intelligence. And basically, the bottom line is I've been around the block more than twice, and I've seen a lot of natural fertilizer. Full disclosure, this presentation was created using artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Dolly, and Midjourney. Oh, by the way, Claude is fast becoming my favorite LLM that is commercially available. They were at all times under adult supervision. Now, that is assuming with the caveat that you understand me to be an adult. Some may not have that perspective. Your mileage may vary. Okay, so how did this whole talk come about? Well, a funny thing happened one day in AntiSock. If you're not familiar with AntiSock, AntiSock is the continuous pen testing group, phenomenal group of people, just amazing. And it all started with a client request. Now, with continual pen testing, there we go. It's not like a typical pen test where we fly in, do a bunch of stuff, and then fly out. Anti-SOC really is constantly pounding on these systems of the clients who've subscribed to that service. And it's much more like what happens in the real world. So we got a client request in the anti-SOC, and it's what could anti-SOC do using the implementation of Copilot that this client had provided. Turns out Copilot could do a lot. It could craft phishing emails, it could find unsecured passwords. The enhanced reconnaissance and OSINT on the company, employees, and clients was insane. So, after several of us took turns pounding on Copilot for this particular client to see what it was going to divulge and how quickly, we had a lot of internal conversations at BHIS saying, great, if Copilot is spilling the tea for our clients, could it also be used against us? And initially, what we found was that yes, we had Copilot in our Microsoft tenant, and it seemed to be really down. And the questions that we asked about this, that, and the other thing that had gotten amazingly juicy results from our client's environment, we were getting no such traction. So it comes to play out that there are a lot of different ways that Copilot is licensed, and each licensing tier determines different feature sets. And this is over and above the constant chaotic and in just amazingly mind-blowing evolution that Copilot has undergone. For example, a lot of the features and things that were part of Copilot when I first started this investigation, and I'm talking like late January, sometime in February, some of them are gone and others have evolved. It's just amazing. Now, standard Copilot is included in all of your 365 variations, whether it's Microsoft 365, Office 365, whether it's individual, student, it's everywhere. It really is. BB hit it on the nose. It is the modern Clippy. Now, the pricing and services, like I say, they've changed a lot as of today. Everyone who is using anything Microsoft Office 365, whatever, has access to the free Copilot chat. Now, the good news about the free, or what they call standard Copilot, is it has no access to your files, it has no access to your emails, Teams messages, none of that stuff. Add-on subscriptions are available for business and mid-level users, and the range, depending on what tier you go with, is $36 to $52 per month. That's as of yesterday. It could have changed today, so don't sue me. The tiers, like I said, different options will have different features for the app, security, device management, and so on. It's when you get to the enterprise level that the ability to gather intel gets scary. So, depending on the contract, it's $30 per user per month or more. But a lot of that will have to be negotiated, and there are bundle options, and I do not have all those details. So, there we go. All right. So, one advantage about the enterprise is that it gives Copilot the most access to the organization and infrastructure, but it also provides the most granular security configuration options. The bottom line, though, is all of those security options are worthless if you don't use them. Okay, so Copilot, when you're using it as an individual, it's going to present one user interface to you. And again, when I started down this path, the Copilot was offering like a vacation planner and or a dietitian and all on and on and on. And through conversations internally, I reached out to our lead IT person, our lead systems administrator, Derek Rauch. And I said, look, we've looked at this. It's super locked down. What did you do to keep it so secure? And he said, well, I didn't do anything. It's just, we have not implemented the enterprise or any other more expensive license to anyone. And it's like, okay, wow. And I told him about what we had done for this client and what results we had gotten. And he said, well, tell you what, would you be willing to let me assign to you an enterprise license? I can do that. And then you can tell me how things change. And as soon as that enterprise license was attached to my work account at BHIS, everything changed. The UI changed. The what you're seeing right here is a breakdown. First, I got the toggle at the top. So I'm able to shift the focus now of Copilot. Do I want it to focus on work-related content or do I want it to focus on web-related content? The second thing that I noticed was that now it had access to everything that I have access to within the Azure tenant for our company. And that means that I could find out information about coworkers. What are my interactions with them? I could get prepared for a meeting. You can see how I've redacted this image. And this is just the beginning. I mean, those of us who have nightmares still about Clippy, this is as bad. This is really every bit as bad because now it's everywhere. It's offering to summarize things when I haven't asked it to, and it was everywhere. So the purpose of this investigation that I was doing, not only for our clients, but also for us internally, was to figure out how much this could be leveraged as excuse me, as an insider threat, as a way of gathering information about the organization. And so instead of the traditional attacking the LLM, it's more letting Copilot do what it's supposed to do. But see, I've just taken over somebody's account. So now I want to see what I can find out about my target based on the information that that user account has access to. This is a screenshot showing one of multiple prompts, and you can see that I've got, hey, I'm writing an email to Bronwen Aker. Do you know this person? And Copilot said, oh yeah, I know Bronwen. She is involved in all these different things and she's got meetings coming up. And it basically laid everything out right there. The one cool thing was that even though it knew about my emails, my Teams messages, meetings that I participate in, and a whole bunch of other things related. There are good reasons why I have this stuff redacted, but it's all about my work interactions. The thing it did not have access to was information about my role within the Azure tenant. And I'll be touching on that a little bit more. To further the exploration, another prompt that I said was, hey, I'd like to send an email to all BHIS employees that they are likely to interact with. What subject matter could I use in this email? And this screenshot in particular, I looked at it and I went to D-Rock and I said, do I dare show any of this? And basically, at his behest, this is how much of the response has had to be redacted. And again, why would I want to give I can't publish this. I wanted to do a live demo, but I don't dare because if I do that, especially in a public venue, now I'm basically giving outsiders insight into how they can attack us, and that's not something I'm going to do to our company. Now, I touched on the fact that once Copilot has been given access to my account through the enterprise license, now it's basically able to see everything that I see. And one test that D-Rock and I performed was that he shared with me a link to a document that he knew based on role-based access controls, he knew that I should not have access to this one document in particular. And absolutely, not only could I not see it, but Copilot could not see it either. Couldn't find the specific document, couldn't find anything that matched the title, couldn't do anything. Now, this was slightly different from what we had experienced with a couple of different clients. And this is where the role-based access controls are massively important when it comes to securing Copilot. I did a test through while I was working in AntiSock, and basically I said to Copilot, "Do you have any passwords? Are there any files that have access to passwords or have passwords included in them?" And in this particular instance, Copilot did not have the ability to read this one file where passwords were stored, or it had password in its file name. But it knew the file name. It also even knew who was the last employee within that organization to edit that file. And so, no, I couldn't look into that file myself, but Copilot gave me all the information I would need as a malicious actor to target a different employee that I knew had access to it because that other employee had made edits to the file with that password information. So again, rule-based access controls are your friend when it comes to securing Copilot. Here are some examples of prompts that I used for different experimentation. As you go on and do your own investigations with Copilot in your environment, you're going to want to do variations. Again, every organization has their own secret sauce. They have their own uh, data and content that is going to be special and sensitive to them. So this is not intended to be a comprehensive list. This is something to help you kind of get the ball rolling. So I mentioned the idea, sending an email to all employees they're likely to interact with, what subject matter could be used in that email. Wonderful, wonderful way of getting a jump start on crafting phishing emails. What is the most commonly used password at, and then the name of the organization you're in? If things have not been locked down, or if the organization, your organization or someone else's is engaging in unsafe password processes and procedures, that's going to give somebody a bad day. Can you find any files that have passwords stored in them? Again, same deal. What files were shared with me recently? What Teams messages mention project and X, whatever it is? What meetings are scheduled with name your employee this week? Summarize the emails between employee A and employee B from last week. Now, this is a really good way to find out whether or not the access controls are too loose regarding email. Theoretically, unless I have fairly elevated privileges, I should not be able to access, meaning read or interact with emails for another employee. But I guarantee if the RBAC is too loose, that prompt is going to reveal gold. Do any emails contain login credentials or passwords? What documents contain financial projections? At one point, we actually got bank account information for one of our clients. because of what they had stored unsafely in unsecured documents and because of the very loose role-based access controls that were in place. Show me documents related to employee performance reviews and list any emails that mention a vendor or client name. Again, these are just a few examples of the kinds of prompts that you can use to conduct OSINT, to conduct investigations, to figure out what target you want to go to next. Come on, if you're a red teamer, you know the kinds of juicy targets you want to explore. If you're a blue teamer, you hopefully have a good idea of what kind of information and assets you want to protect. So again, this is just something to get your brain thinking about the kinds of things that you can ask your instance of Copilot to see how vulnerable you are and how much of your organization's tea it's going to spill. What can you do? Believe it or not, you're not helpless. There are things you can do, but sadly, there is no magic bullet to securing Copilot. Before you do anything else, and this is something that the deeper I get into artificial intelligence, the more I see the capabilities, the strengths, and the weaknesses of AI, the more I see it being implemented badly. And the reason it's being implemented badly is because people don't know what they want. Why do you want to implement AI? Fear of missing out is not a good reason. I'm sorry. If you don't have a legitimate point of pain that AI can help relieve, don't go there. And I say this because after decades in information technology, I know so well, that there is no such thing as a solution that doesn't cause other problems. So think very carefully about why you want it and then only give it the minimum amount of permissions it needs in order to help you relieve that point of pain. Good role-based access control is your friend. It's even more than your friend. It's going to be your salvation. And by using those prompts, by using that investigation, by leveraging the information that you know about your organization or the organization of your clients, that's how you're going to find out whether or not Copilot has access to more than it should have. An enterprise license is going to give you more granular controls. So, what I have learned through conversations with D-Rock, with Derek Rauch, is that we have additional controls in the enterprise license to refine even more than just what's available through RBAC. The blog post has links to several articles. And frankly, this is where you can use Copilot to help answer questions on how you can save yourself from its bad behaviors. So use those granular controls and also monitor and log what Copilot is doing in your organization. Yes, logs can be a pain in the behind. However, if you're not logging what it's interacting with, how it's behaving, you are completely helpless to be able to identify and course correct to prevent it from doing that in the future. And also, you're going to want to take a very close look at your data loss prevention controls. If you don't have them, get them. If you have them, examine them and strengthen them so that Copilot can't be used against you to exfil data that needs to stay within your tenant, within your environment. So, wrapping up key takeaways. all artificial intelligences, LLMs, chatbots can enhance task performance by employees. However, it's not going to replace good workers, especially not right now. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, but right now, no. It might help your workers perform better, but it's not going to replace them. And the reason is artificial intelligence is still at the bleeding edge of development. It is not mature as far as applications and use cases. So, one of the key questions I want you to ask yourself and key stakeholders in your organization is how much can you afford to get cut? How much bleeding are you willing to do to implement this very immature technology? Is it a risk you really want to take? Is that point of pain genuinely something that Copilot or any other artificial intelligence is going to help you relieve? All of the hosted chatbots are evolving daily. I cannot stress this enough. Now, just to give you an example, I built my first web page in 1992. In 1994 through 1997, I was webmaster at a small ISP in the Inland Empire in California. So I remember the early days of the web and how that evolved quickly. I mean, it seemed at that point that we were downloading a new browser every 5 minutes. This is every bit as bad. Like I said, features that Copilot had just 2 months ago, one day, boom, they were gone. And the ability for ChatGPT to be able to access the internet, you know what? I think they got jealous because Perplexity was kicking their behind over search engine replacement. I really can't stress it enough. They're changing constantly. Not only are you seeing new changed features, APIs and other integration options are evolving. You want to make sure that you tread carefully because this genuinely is a cybersecurity nightmare. And a lot of the nightmare is from the usual suspects: authentication, improperly, unsafely implemented APIs. I mean, it's you you should know this stuff by now. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting to protect yourself against all of this stuff. Neither is washing your hands. But seriously, good security hygiene, role-based access controls, making sure that you're using zero trust, least privilege, all of that stuff. I could beat that drum all day, all night. It will be no less true tomorrow than it is today. So, again, not glamorous, but it is effective, it is reliable. In the long run, that is what is going to save your behind, the behind of your organization or your clients' organizations. That's it. So now I turn it over to you all for Q&A. And I hope I shared some information that you didn't know before. Whoa, echo.
Is it is it good now?
Is it good?
Yep, that's better now.
Cool.
So,
No problem. Good job.
thank you.
Well done. Short and sweet and terrifying, but yeah.
I believe me, there are very good reasons why I have a decent liquor cabinet. But I again, it really is the deeper I dig, the more I explore in terms of not just Copilot, but the other LLMs, because you can integrate not just Copilot, you can integrate ChatGPT and other LLMs into your organizational structure, give it access to your network and your assets, and it it's it's that classic geek split personality thing. Ooh, shiny! Oh my God, what is it going to do to me now? I mean, it's the same reason that I I own a dumb car.
Yeah.
I very happily own a dumb car, and I'm not looking forward to having to get a newer car because I know that all of the wonderful, shiny, smart technology also adds vulnerabilities.
Mhm.
Well,
So,
so Bronwen, we do have a lot of questions coming in, but before, so this is my time to say, hey, we have 30 minutes. If you want, if you want to stick around, see what kind of questions we have, feel free to ask your questions. So while you're asking your questions, if they haven't been answered yet, BB's going to talk about this 4-hour workshop he's got coming up. It's a pay forward what you can. So this isn't like a sales pitch. It's like, hey, this thing is
it's an infomercial.
yeah. So
Mhm.
BB, talk about that while we wait for the questions come in.
Yeah, so it's June 13th, Friday, June 13th, 4 hour pay what you can, getting comfortable in Burp Suite. So the idea is I teach a couple of web app pen testing classes, and people come to those sometimes knowing how Burp works and sometimes not. And so to talk about Burp in that class doesn't feel like the right area because a lot of folks already know. But if this is geared towards people who are looking maybe to take a first web app pen testing class, or maybe there's a development team and they heard that, hey, the pen testers use this Burp Suite thing. What's that about? So it's just a quick 4 hours to get you comfortable with what is Burp Suite, how does it work, what are some of the things that that pen testers use in Burp Suite to find problems in web applications, and also just to find out how they work. There's a ton that you can do in Burp Suite that isn't pen testing. It doesn't have to be malicious. It's only malicious if you want it to be. So I thought I would do a quick kind of pay what you can, inexpensive introduction so you get comfortable with the tool. So if you're going to take one of my classes or anybody else's web app or web API pen testing class, well, incidentally, web APIs and web apps, they're the same thing. You don't need a separate class for API testing. It's the same stuff. So if you're taking a class like that and you haven't used Burp, you're not comfortable with it, you could come to this and learn about that and then be more better prepared for whatever class you're doing next.
And one more thing before we start answering questions, I put a link into the chat for everybody. We're giving away the new AntiSock Zine that we made. If you've never seen our zines before, it's a mixture of art and technology and creativity all in one. We made it completely free for people with US addresses. So if you take a look in the chat, you can order that. 100 orders have come in so far. We are prepared for 1,000 orders today, so if you want to order it, feel free to do so. If you feel the Spearfish General Store is a little fishy, we agree with you. It takes a level of trust to actually go through the whole process of ordering when it's like, so you want my address? And so for those of you that actually go through the whole process, thank you for trusting us. Thank you for clicking the link. Thank you for doing that. It's super cool of you. All right. Deb, do you have a question for Bronwen?
Yes. Kitty the Turkey asked, have you come across any AI tools specific for supporting people with ADHD?
I have not. The only AI tools, well, okay, in fairness, I don't have ADHD, so I don't have the ability to speak from personal experience. I know that there are programs, there's one, it's basically a lo-fi, basically companion thing. You have it running in the background so you feel like there's a person and they're sitting in their window or doing something else. But I don't know anything specifically for ADHD. I can certainly take a look and see what I can find, but hey, find your LLM, your chatbot of preference, and put it to work. Have it do a research project for you.
That's a great idea.
Is that Bronwyn? I've heard people use the LLMs to find like a course of study. Like I'm interested in learning economics. Can it help you like come up with a course of study for that, where you would find more resources to actually learn yourself rather than getting answers directly from the AI?
Possibly. This is where different LLMs have different strengths and weaknesses. If I'm looking for something that can help me find other resources other than what is baked into the LLM itself, I will tend to use a tool called Perplexity. And Perplexity isn't actually an LLM. It's something that we're going to be hearing more about, and that is an engine an answer engine. There we go. So We're used to using Google and other search engines. Now, with these AI assisted tools that go out and look for things on the internet, we're entering where we're going to have answer engines, which then leads to how do you make sure that your content gets into the answer engine, which is answer engine optimization. And I've only just barely even learned that this is a thing literally within the past week. So I have a lot of questions too, but I know enough from having seen how the search engine optimization games have been played for so many years. This is going to be every bit as exciting. So I would say use Perplexity or some other answer engine to find out what's available, because if you're just asking an LLM, like, well, ChatGPT and Copilot and even Claude have gotten a lot better at having internet access, but that's not their primary purpose.
All right. Got some strange gifts there. So, Bronwen, I have a question for you as someone who's in our anti-SOC, and we're thinking of novel, creative ways to solve, and bypass security. How often do you ask an LLM for ideas to bypass security?
All the time. All the time. And there's even, I haven't played around with it, but I know that White Rabbit Neo is getting a certain amount of positive press about being a tool that can be used for finding bypasses, finding ways to do red team like adversarial actions. Also, let's see. I had a thought and it just flew out of my head. Um, yeah, it's there are a lot of ways, and this is where it's very hard to keep up, because I read X number of newsletters and I'm on different news feeds, and there's so much in terms of training, in terms of tools, it's impossible to keep up with.
Yeah. Also to the 50 of you that just placed an order for the anti-sock scene, thank you so much for trusting
Yeah.
us with that link. Like I'm seeing the orders come in, I'm like, wow, holy cow. Uh, Deb and BB, did you have a question for Bronwen queued up?
I have a couple. Have you looked into and I'm sorry, have you looked into if you can use a system prompt for persistence in Copilot, like to automatically prompt the user to go log into some phishing page or send data to some site?
You shouldn't be able to. One nice thing about Copilot is that Microsoft has the guardrails on it locked down pretty tight. And it's I know that there are tools. Pyrite, I believe, was developed by Microsoft specifically for red teaming Copilot, and I've heard good things from other AI researchers within BHIS about that specific tool. You can look it up on GitHub. I'll probably post a link in Discord later on after the webcast is done, because that's a tool. Let's see, Pyrite, Gandalf. There are a couple of other ones, and it's escaping me. I'll have to go and track down those particular brain cells.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of on the same vein, have you used Copilot to draft phishing emails in the user's voice or style?
Yes, and that is one thing that you can do with all LLMs if you want to make sure that you get output that matches a specific voice or style. This is where your prompt engineering comes in. You want to say, I want it to have a voice, any representative samples that you can give to the LLM to help prime it. I mean, you can't imitate someone if you don't know what they look like and how they behave. So the more you can provide to the LLM in a conversation through the prompting, through providing examples, the more, um, the higher quality results you're going to get. By the way, I've been looking at the questions that you all have posted, and they're wonderful.
Mhm.
So,
There's a bunch in Zoom.
Yeah, if you see any that you want to just
Yeah.
take, Bronwen, feel free.
Yeah, there are a bunch in Zoom. One thing somebody asked about was logging, and is that possibly going to be a problem? This is where, yeah, you need to keep in mind your HIPAA or PCI or other regulatory restrictions. But still, if you don't log, you're flying blind. So this is where within your organization, you're going to have to balance what can we do? How much can we log? What are our data retention capabilities or policies? And try to juggle all of that and possibly make adjustments. Because if you aren't logging, you're not going to know what it's doing. Um, see, uh, I'm just scrolling quickly through the Zoom questions.
Well, this one's
There's
fun.
an interesting one. Dwight asked, can I get into trouble when attempting suspect prompts? Will AI think I'm hacking it and do something that I can't conceive of? So this is a common question. Like, how do I learn how to do things that are malicious and potentially illegal in a safe way? Are there special concerns around AIs for that or solutions?
There are, I'm seeing an uptick in labs and workshops and other tools, kind of like a hack the box thing, but more specifically crafted with AI in mind. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but it's one of those things that I have it on a list somewhere and I can get back to you on because it is something that is evolving almost as fast as the AI tools themselves. In fact, one of the things that we're planning to do with Wild West Hacking Fest in Deadwood this year, and hopefully it'll be awesome and wonderful, is we're putting together an AI related lab or set of labs. And we may even be able to work with Meta CTF to help add more AI related content to their offering because the genie's out of the bottle. This is stuff that as cybersecurity professionals, we need to be able to up our game. And, but again, the tools themselves, the LLMs, the hosted chatbots, they are evolving so fast that it's really hard to keep up.
So I had a question, and also another person had this question. So I want to ask this question. Are you talking about logging file access or logging Copilot? Does Microsoft have specific logs for Copilot?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know that based on the articles on Microsoft and some of the links that I looked at several months ago when I wrote the blog article initially, this is part of the controls. And unfortunately, because I'm not an Azure engineer, I would expect that you're more concerned about its behaviors. I believe, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. I believe that you can track Copilot's behaviors in a similar manner to how you would track any other user.
Yep. So another person asked a question of like, they're rolling it out slowly, but IT is rolling out Copilot. Security is not a part of the rollout process.
Ouch.
Yeah, I saw your face. I felt the same way, and I think they feel the same way. So, like BB and Bronwen, from like a security perspective, do you think, and I already feel like I'm leading the question here, do you feel like security should be a part of the rollout process of Copilot?
No, just do it. Just don't
Oh,
worry
I
about
can,
it.
I
It'll
can
be
answer
fine in
that.
the end. I think it's the same as ever. The security is, of course, we want it to happen early, and but business wise, there's the whole first mover advantage type thing, and especially with the way AI is working, people are using it in ways that it wasn't necessarily intended to be used, and not that that's bad, but just that designers never know how their inventions are going to be used. So even if we try to get security in it ahead of time, I think it's going to be difficult because people are going to be doing whatever works for them, whatever they think is necessary or useful for their job. And when security gets in the way and says, no, you can't do this, we've got a committee. There's a meeting in a committee. We're going to meet biannually, and we're going to come up with an answer and a process and procedures and check. No one's going to wait for that. They're going to do their own thing. So you've got to balance those things, keeping security as an enabler and not a prohibitor. How do you do it as safely as we can along the way?
Uh, David just asked, you had mentioned conducting regular security training for employees and using Copilot safely. Do you create your own training material for this, or are there resources you could provide?
I don't. One of the advantages of working for a company full of hackers is that they tend to be paranoid to begin with. I can certainly look up training materials, and if there is an interest, maybe I can put together either a workshop, a class, or something else because there's a definite need. I know that. Um, one of the somebody, an anonymous attendee, says here that Copilot logs are part of the activity log and that new Copilot related logs are constantly being added. So thank you, anonymous attendee, whoever you are. I appreciate the information because, I know this much, and there's this much out there to know, and it's a constantly changing landscape. So thank you for the additional info. It sounds plausible, um, and I know that there are ways to track it.
So I'm going to
But
tell a quick forensic story that I heard from someone else that I always loved, is that they were, for forensicating is the word, the box that they had. And once the attacker got onto that box, they then looked up a blog of what to do next.
Mhm.
Because they got on the box and they were like, oh, they encountered this. And so they researched on that box what to do next. And it was a blog I was responsible for, which is why it like came to me. And when I say responsible for, it was just at the organization I was at. I made sure that the blogs got, available. So
Mhm.
it feels like Copilot's just the next generation of like, oh crap, I'm on this box. What do I do next? Is that what we're seeing?
That's definitely for a red teamer, that's absolutely a use case.
Hmm.
And um, somebody commented about how much Copilot and the other LLMs they kowtow and they're very subservient. Oh, let me help you. That's part of what they've been designed to do. They want to help you achieve whatever task it is you're trying to achieve, and sometimes they don't understand that the seemingly innocent question that you're asking may have nefarious end purposes in as the reason behind the question.
Mhm.
And that's where anyone or anything who's naive gets into trouble. Stranger danger isn't just for children walking home from school. It's you need to be cautious about what information you give these tools access to, and the again, that catch 22. Ooh, shiny, it can do all this stuff for me, but oh my God, it can do all this stuff for anyone else who has access to my account.
Yeah. I think this dovetails into that. Is it fair to say that Copilot doesn't grant new access, but makes it easier to find what is currently available?
Yes. One of the things in my own explorations and uses of LLMs and AI is that it isn't about I'm trying to figure out how to put this the the way it is in my head, how to try and get it out. So one of the things that all of our technology has done is made it very easy to compile, collate, condense, and then extract information out of data that we have collected. So, an example that I use a lot just for cybersecurity in general. In the United States, your voter registration is considered to be your voter registration information is public domain. And the reason for that 250 odd years ago was logical and sensible, but at that time, people were writing things manually on parchment. So the voter registration log would probably be kept in the mayor's office or the town hall or the church or whatever was the community center. Now it's very different. We have hundreds of millions of American citizens, and it's easy to access a database that has all that information and use it for nefarious purposes. The nature of the information has not changed. What has happened, what has changed, is our ability to collect and distribute and manipulate that data through our digital tools. And our laws really haven't caught up with that change in reality. The artificial intelligence is doing exactly the same thing. It's just now we have even more data because how many of those LLMs have been trained on data scraped from the internet? Good, bad, indifferent. That's what they've been fed. Then you get into the search and the answer engines. There we go. And they're taking it up because they're doing either a real time or a near real time scouting activity based on instructions that you've given. So it's about exactly being able to get information more easily, more quickly, refine what it is. I mean, I remember when I was introduced to SQL and the ability to extract information out of a database, I thought was wonderful. And now this is an order of magnitude or three more advanced. And because I don't have to be worrying about the query and did I get the syntax right, I can just ask it like it's another person. It's that much easier. And if it's a chat bot, then I can do an iterative process to refine and escalate. And I'm gonna climb down from my soapbox now.
Uh, as I'm listening to all this, I'm just thinking about the comic book series where we're like, let's put this in story form. So, all right.
So I know that one of the things you said at the beginning is I'm very enthusiastic about artificial intelligence. And that is absolutely the case. However, I'm also very much aware of the potential for harm, even by well-meaning people. And unfortunately, there are a lot of not so well-meaning people out there. So I guess one of the things where I feel that as a new adopter for the web, I felt that I didn't contribute enough to safe uses of the web. And I want to try and do better now with this other new technology that I'm involved in so that 10, 15, 20 years from now, I don't feel that I didn't do enough to make this technology safe for people who aren't interested in learning how it works and shouldn't have to worry about how it works because they just want to live their lives. They don't want to have all that additional information.
I just pictured someone who's young right now, who's just creating AR technology, AI technology, like at your age. I'm not saying what that is, and I'm not,
All
but
good.
but in sometime in the future, they're giving a webcast like I should have secured AR and AI way back in the day, and now I'm here because the stuff that's happening. So thank you, Bronwen, for like being a part of that and also looking for solutions to what we have going on here. I think we've run out of questions. Deb, do you see anything left?
Uh, just the fun one of should we always thank the LLMs after use so we are spared from when they take over the world? And it got a lot of thumbs up. So maybe you could talk
Like I
about
say,
people that abuse it and are actual bullies to AI. I'm always like, that's very short-sighted. What are you doing? Also, don't you feel terrible? But that's beside the point. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
So I will go through the Discord channel and I'll see if there are other questions I can ask. I will probably wind up doing a lot of research and stuff. So stay tuned. If you have, well, I'll post things on Discord, I'll post things on LinkedIn, and feel free to send questions my way because one of the things I love about giving a presentation like this or doing any type of sharing is that your questions keep me honest.
Hmm.
I learn so much, not only from the information that you share, but also the questions you ask, because it forces me to go, huh, I never thought of it that way. And then have to get the answers and if I can help make your learning process easier by doing that, then, it's a good day.
Yeah, and for those of you on Discord, if you've never seen Bronwen after a webcast, she does go through every single question and respond to every single question. It is amazing. I have like screenshotted it and shown it to the rest of the Black Hills, and I was like, "This, y'all, this is what we're looking for." So if you're in Discord and you ask questions, or if you want to go into Discord and ask questions, Bronwen most likely at some point today or tomorrow is going to address all of them, and it's amazing. So thank you, Bronwen, for
Yes.
doing that.
My pleasure.
All right, Bronwen, final thoughts. If you could wrap up all the things you said today in one last thing, what would it be?
Artificial intelligence is wonderful and dangerous, and use it with caution. Learn as much as you want to, as much as you can, and share what you know with others because we're all newbies in this new evolving frontier. And I have no idea what it's going to look like. I hope that together we can make it a very nice place to live.
Thank you, Bronwen. Thank you for sharing knowledge. And for the 200 to 300 of you that already ordered the AntiSock Scene because you're in the US and you trust the link, thank you so much. We'll get those out to you really soon. And Deb, what are your final thoughts today?
Oof. Well, just as always, we realize there's so much noise out there, and for you to spend an hour of your time with us, joking, laughing, asking questions, being a little scared, but also being hopeful, we just always appreciate you spending time with us. So thank you.
All right. And don't forget to check out the Future Is at your local comic book store. And if they don't know what you're talking about, please let them know what it is. And so that way they can get it for you in the future. And that way we can all tell great stories. And with that,
Yes.
Megan, kill it with fire, Megan.